Doug, thank you so much for being on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I'm Phil. I'm a partner at Webisoft. We build custom software. We're based out of Montreal, Canada, and we talk to interesting guests in multiple industries about innovation, AI, and the end of the world. We're doing a podcast because our marketing team forced us to do it, and they were right.
Okay.
So good job. Doug, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so thanks. Yeah, Doug Cassidy. I'm the president of PointVerge, which is a company me and a partner developed for doing design drafting and material management. And we've developed software product to address the inefficiencies in material management, originally in oil and gas, but it's since expanded to do all sorts of data. And my background is as a piping designer, which is a draftsman that we design oil and gas facilities using 3D CAD packages, and that's where the bulk of our work is. But we've developed our software called Cuber now, which for major inefficiencies in data management that no software existed that could help us. So we started to do that back in 2013, I think, is when we incorporated and started working on that. So that was the start of our company.
What does plan hard, work easy mean for you?
Well, like people, they do mundane, like our software, what we developed it for was to reduce or eliminate the mundane manual tasks that people do with materials and spreadsheets. And they just get going. And instead of planning, they just, they're more or not, instead of being proactive, they're more reactive. With just a little bit of planning, you can eliminate a lot of work. So we say plan hard and work easy, don't, and that's our motto. And that's what we do. Upfront configuration and setup gets you all the downstream
Hmm.
work easy type of effects. And that really defines us for sure.
I mean, that's definitely resonates with our approach as well, right? Like the best, fail to plan, plan to fail, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's often the most important part of a project is the planning. In your position at the company, what takes up most of your day?
Well, most of my day now that we've expanded, I'm lead on most material management jobs, but for now, for moving forward, our company has advanced into, we just opened a training arm to address there's a very big lack of training in oil and gas CAD and piping design, which we have found and identified. So we just launched that. So that takes up a lot of my time, training people, training them on material management and the use of our tool and how it works. That takes up a lot of my time. And just we have visions for other things because our software now is advanced to the level that it can be used in any industry that deals with data. I mean, pharma, healthcare, you name it, it can be used in anything. So I spent a lot of time researching. We've nailed it in oil and gas. Now we need to reach out to the other industries that we don't know what their problems are. We know we can help them.
Mm.
And the universities, even providing the tool to the universities to use for students doing their thesis and stuff. Because the reason we started the software, Phil, is to do a comparison. If you have two different sheets of data or two different files of data, like from Excel, and you want to know the differences in them, like that'll show you like one was this, then it grew to this, what changed.
Yeah.
And there was no tool for it, and there still isn't a tool for it. You have to manually do all the work. Very time consuming, very laborious. And so our tool will tell you that in a couple of seconds. It does the differences between the two. So now it's opened up, for any type of industry that wants those quick results. So to do that. However, once we almost made the tool too good, because what happened was companies, especially in the engineering world, in oil and gas, there's so much money involved that efficiencies they all complain about. It's like everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. And they'll spend the extra dollars. And so for us to come and show them that we've taken a task that took you 20 hours and now it shows it in 1 second, they go, ooh, and they go, you just took 20 billable hours out of my pocket,
Mm.
this type of thing. So this is a resistance to change. And what we label it as, Phil, is that we're trying to get rid of the 7 most dangerous words in the business language because we've always done it this way.
Uh-huh.
And you can't stop progress. We're an innovative company that you can't stop progress, right? I always say that The last guy to make a buggy whip, the little whip they used to hit the horses with on the buggies, he probably had the best buggy whip out there, but he should have got into making windshield wiper blades. You can't stop the progress, right?
Right.
So we're excited. So we do get resistance, but it's working, and we've had efficiencies where companies they usually subject themselves to 10% cost overruns on materials, which can be millions of dollars. And with our procedures and the use of a tool, we brought it down to less than 0.15%, right? So, I mean, there's major efficiencies there and cost savings and whatnot. So that's what we promote. So that's what we're doing in the industry. And it's starting to gain a lot of momentum. So changing up the way you deal with material management in oil and gas, sure. And then in healthcare too. Healthcare, where the doctors have to take and they have to run reports of this data to that data. That's what our software tool does. It's growing. It originally started out to just run the comparison. That's still the most important part of it. But we started to realize, hey, this little mousetrap can do all sorts of other things. So it's just doing one of these now. So it's quite powerful, and we're really proud of it here in Alberta that it's a Canadian made solution.
Is it incorporating any of the obviously AI models to do the comparison?
Not right now. It's just a straight data comparison. We have training on like data standards and that, but AI is our next obvious, to be looking at. I mean, it's obvious to us, in piping design. So we don't know right now what that means. We don't have any experience. We need to talk to some people and say, hey, how can this be used? How can this tool? You got this hammer here that can do a lot of things. It can be swung many different ways, and we need to present it out there so that people know about it and get some feedback. Because right now, like I said, we've nailed oil and gas. We've got that nailed. We need to know what other people can use the tool for. We had originally called it Material Inspector because it was for just inspecting materials on oil and gas. And now we've rebranded. It's called QBR, QUBR, which stands for Query-Based Reporting. So any data you guys have, like say you want to track and compare what times of the month you're doing podcasts, what's the best time, any data that you want to look at comparing, that's what this tool will do. And it surprises us that there's nothing like it out there, but there really isn't. But I think it's just people don't accept change so quickly.
Well, I hear like, especially, I think you might have picked, the most difficult industry to bring change in, right? From this series, I've learned a lot, from oil and gas, because our exposure with really one client, and I think we've been lucky and pretty grateful that this client is quite open-minded, and obviously there's trust involved at this point where we've been embedded with them for several years now, and so innovation is always on the table. But I hear it's a hard concept to push in oil and gas, and it's very much it's always worked this way, so we'll continue doing that approach.
Well, yeah, it really has. And there's so much money involved, by the time you say $100,000, they've made $100,000. And, we did a project where it was $4.2 million in a purchase order. And we did the material management with efficient procedures. And it brought it down to at the very end that the only top up was $5,200, which was 0.15% of the original PO. When I told the project manager that, he almost pooped his pants. He couldn't believe it. So I said, well, what were you expecting? He said, well, what's common is up to 10%. So I said, you were expecting up to $400,000 as overages? He said, yeah. And I said, wow, and so, I mean, it's amazing, but they still, it's like they still don't get it. We did a presentation to another company. They were proposing a $500 million LNG facility. Now on there, is about it's the stats are 20% of that budget is in materials, so about $100 million, right? We proved to him that we could save him $10 million with this innovation. And you know what he said? He said, well, it's a $500 million job, so 10 million, not enough, And I thought, well, there's a guy talking that's not spending his own money. And I thought,
it's not exciting. It's not exciting enough.
Yeah, it's not exciting. I should have said to him, well, what would it have to be enough? I said, maybe your shareholders, So this is the battle, right? Because, well, we've always done it that way, and it's acceptable. And it's like, well, man, it's like saying we've invented the car. Well, we've always rode our horse to Edmonton, so we'll keep riding our horse. I can get you there in 2 hours though with the car. you know, so it's a battle. It's a battle. You have to get the higher ups that buy into
Yeah.
it, and
And I hear
this,
also like it needs to work a few times, right? Like it needs to like
yeah,
demonstrate, like, you have a demonstration with a live client, actual
yeah.
results, and then they'll trust it. Someone else
Yeah,
did
and
it.
we have that. We have a history. We have a history of a few clients, and it's still a bit of a challenge, but it's getting there. It's getting there for
So
us.
it's probably
So
awareness. So I mean, I could imagine, it seems like now you've kind of realized that this product could be ported to other industries, right? And maybe you'll have an easier time there. Maybe you're learning all the hard lessons, with the oil and gas, and then it'll be smooth
well,
sailing.
it's funny how you say that, Phil, because you're right. Because we've said oil and gas is too much money, so they don't pay enough attention. They don't care enough. But other industries where they do care,
Yeah,
they need to know about it. Someone
every
that no, I
dollar. Yeah,
really you, every dollar you tell them a $10 million savings and see what they say.
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. So no, it's all good. It's all the learning curve, right? So
I mean, I had a question about, what's an outdated process that you're still stuck with in your industry. Maybe that's, kind of partly answered it, but
yeah.
what do you see out, in oil and gas specifically, and then maybe in your line of work where you kind of have to deal with just a legacy way of doing it, whether it's, outdated technology or just culturally.
We don't pay attention to that because we have to move with people that want to move forward,
Mm,
because we can't go backwards. And like, they say, well, I just want to do this and I just want to do this, and we use kind of the, well, you can't be sort of pregnant. Like, you have to either buy into this,
yeah,
you got to buy into this philosophy, and this is how it works, and this is the future.
yeah, you got to be all in.
Like we've improved it. We cannot go backwards. That makes no sense to us to go backwards. We have to bring people forward. So it's happening, but it takes a lot of time. And now we're on to the climate change thing, where we've got a big initiative on that, which is really going to raise some eyebrows because of good material management on how we can help the climate change whole conversation.
Can you expand on that? Like, is it related to carbon credits or?
Yeah, well, like right now, like when I was explaining, like companies will go over, they will just buy materials, buy them and buy them, and at the end of because they're not tracking them, they don't have
Hmm.
any tool, and at the end of it, they'll have a whole heap of stuff
Oh,
that's left over.
so you're saying
Okay, so
you're saying, okay, they have no way of really tracking like what they're buying essentially.
yeah, not the quantities or anything. So what they do is they have this big graveyard at the end of pipe and fittings and valves that can be worth, depending on the size of the project, millions of dollars. So you can return some of it, like, and pay a 15% stocking fee, and you can return some you can't, and they just leave it sit there. So it occurred to me one day, I thought, I wonder how much of a carb CO2 is
Yeah.
created by the manufacturing of raw steel. Okay. So I looked into it, Phil, and it turns out it's one of the biggest polluters on the planet, the manufacture of steel that's used to make your pipes and fittings. So I said, if you get your materials management in order, and you're only ordering and using what you need, you're not having any waste, and you think about what it costs, to the carbon footprint for the plants that are smelting the steel, the mining the steel, the shipping it on ships, on trucks and everything. It's got a huge carbon footprint. And if you can just eliminate that and cut that down, well, then you're really helping the environment. So what we've come up with, we call it the Green Initiative, where we get the bigger companies to start. You become part of an association where you become part of it, and you commit to proper material management, and you can use our tool or use something else there, if you want. But if you say we set the bar at 10% of overruns, and you say if you get that down to 5%, you're like a bronze member. If you get it down to 3%, you're a silver member. If you get it below 1%, you're a gold member, and you get a badge of honor. And all these companies can be part of this consortium that are committing to better material management to help save the CO2 emissions. And then if we can get the government involved that endorses it, maybe these companies can get some tax credits or carbon credits or something, but bring them in to show that Alberta made, Canada made initiative of helping the carbon, reduction, and just simply in the manufacturing of materials that aren't needed, just with good procedures,
Yeah.
in these graveyards. So that one's exciting to us because, the climate's important to us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, it should be, right? It's pretty important for all humans really.
Anybody that breathes,
Yeah. And so, by the way, like what you described in terms of there's no inventory control or, not checking and just buying and then figuring out later. I feel like that's how my wife shops at Costco.
Oh, you too, eh?
I think it's a universal thing. And that same line of questioning, where do you see the most waste? And, like it could be that answer, I guess, but anything else?
Well, that's a big waste, and there's a big waste in resources, people's time and
Hmm.
energy spent. That is just, I mean, that's an environmental, a social waste. That they're not providing anything of value. They can be trained more on technology and more on procedures that adds more value than them sitting there with highlighters and looking at spreadsheets. That's just going nowhere type of thing. So there's definitely waste in that. The steel fabricators won't like us because they want to make as much steel as they possibly
Yeah.
can, right?
Yeah.
You know, but there's a lot in that and a lot of waste in construction because the cost of the material savings is one thing, but the real savings is in the construction. When you don't have the big yellow machines spewing smoke and that, and they're stopped because they're missing a piece of inventory that they have to wait and they have to hot shot it out, and that $500 part now becomes a $10,000 overage because of all the ka-ching, 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 and they're running trucks and everything else, and right down to the manufacturing of the tires that are on those trucks and the fuel and that. I mean, we can measure those metrics, and we want to at some point to say, okay, this project, if it was 10% over, this is what it would look like in our basis from the data. Now that you've looked like this, you've actually lowered the CO2 by, in our estimates, this much just on one project. You can measure that, you can, and it would be astronomical, right? Alberta, you kind of get a bad rap, a bit of Canada does about the environment, but we have the most responsible development of our oil and gas on the planet anywhere. And this is just another step,
Hmm.
showing how responsible we are for it, how clean it is, type of thing. Because I mean, like it or not, I don't think oil and gas are going anywhere
No.
soon. Anyway, it's still, and so we can do it responsibly and keep doing it responsibly.
Yeah.
And so we try to help that. So we've got some procedures and some tools that help that, right?
Yeah.
So
I've heard in another interview that the industry is kind of shifting, from discovery towards more optimization, right, of what's already
mhm.
out there. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely, yeah. More what's out there, optimization. Just on a little bit of a secret, but this will go to whoever watches it. We just got contracted yesterday to do the material management on the largest project in Canada. Our little company for the material management. It's so big that the overages would be insane, and they control. And they said to the guy, "Well, how you been doing it?" "Oh, spreadsheets, and it's a mess." And this is a multi-billion
Wish
dollar
we could do something
corporation.
about it. Oh well.
Yeah, I said, maybe I got an idea, you know. So
Yeah.
so anyway, so exciting
That's
that way. So
congratulations, by the way.
oh, thank you. Yeah, and we do the training, and the other thing we do now is training. The training is really lacked out here and in the industry.
Yeah.
And for CAD and piping design, some of the schools have even gotten rid of it. And so what's happening now? There's nobody replacing the retired
Hmm.
people, and so they're sending design and jobs out of the country. They're going overseas, and we tried to hire people for a CAD job. I had 75 resumes and I couldn't hire one person because
Yeah,
nobody had the
they lacked
complete
the
package.
requirements.
So I have a background in training. I said to my partner, Sean, I said, you know what, we need to set up some training. So we've developed the training. We call it PBI Tech that we just launched. And we've had nothing but a huge response that we treat it like it's a mentorship, that it keeps the jobs in Canada and it hires the people here, immigrants and First Nations people, because a
Hmm.
lot of them, they want their people working on projects that are on their land. We train them right here, give them an apprenticeship style training. It's effective, and we've had a huge response, overwhelming. Like the engineering company saying, "There's no trained people, no trained people." Even the United States is contacting us. So the training too, train people and train them in material management, and so we've launched the school. And I thought about it last night when it was launched. I said, "You really know what the heck you've done here?" And I thought, "Yeah, I think so."
We'll figure it out.
Starting
We'll
school.
figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, I'll
I
figure it out.
Is it because, is part of the reason training is essential and I guess harder is because of the high turnover? I, I think I
Well, there's not, like, since they stopped the training about 2018, some of these tech schools out here, and the training they were doing was they were starting to go with just sending you YouTube videos and stuff to watch, like, not in-house training or online training like this. And that was one of the biggest problems, and no mentorship,
Yeah.
the old,
Not
the
as
old guys used
interactive.
to mentor you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the apprenticeship. Nobody mentors these young people anymore. So we've proven that wrong. That you need to. They come out of school, the young kids. I mean, they're great on the computer, right? But you give them okay, here's your toolbox, but they don't know how to build a house. They still have to be shown how to build a house and need the mentorship. And it's starting to go away, leaving a big gap of trained resources. So they're going overseas to have it done, and the checking of it, it's terrible. And so we're taking that back. And Alberta is recently promoting, training, let's train Canadians, let's train our people here. And it's resonated a lot more than we even kind of dreamt of it. Like it's a big problem. So we're filling that gap.
Knowledge bases and training agents with AI could be an angle here, right?
That's another one of those roads that I say we don't know what healthcare needs for and this needs for. AI is the same thing that people train. What do you do? That's the first thing we say. What do you do? What do you produce? And then we work backwards so that we can tweak the software so that it spits out as close to what you ultimately get as you're trying to get. And then you massage it from there. Wipe out as much of the manual work and as much of the repetitive work as you possibly can. That's the idea. Because there's nobody lazier than me out there.
Well, like you said, work easy. Whether that's you or in the industry in general and oil and gas, where do you think vendors, people that are trying to, in the service business, for instance, miss the mark? They're either not pitching the right product or they don't have the right approach.
I think it's just the lack of that everybody's all doing the same thing. And so nobody cares to move forwards. Nobody's standing out. They say, well, they want this, so I'm going to keep doing it until they tell me otherwise. It's going to take some industry leaders to say, look, we need to step up here. That's where I think our green initiative will really help. You get the big boys involved and the government's involved and start pushing the waste that can be reduced. Otherwise, like I said, the guy saying $10 million wasn't enough to save.
Yeah, that's
$10 million
that's
wasn't
crazy.
enough. So and like you said, they want somebody else to try it, which we've proven, but they say, I don't want to lose my job, so I'm going to just go with 10% that we've always done. Yeah. And they're scared, right? Scared. So you need some guys with some, to say, no, we're doing that. And this company that we're doing now, multi-billion dollars, they saw it. They saw the value in it. And so,
well, all it takes is a big one.
Yeah.
Like that,
well,
yeah.
You know what? They're like that. They're like children on the playground. One of them falls, they all fall, right?
Yeah.
But we've had them say that, Phil. They go, well, who else has done this? And we're saying, well, we say X, Y, Z. Oh, really? What are they doing? We need to know because we can't be behind. We can't be behind.
Right.
So they're like children. You need one of them, and then they just
that's it. That's yeah. Where do you see the real innovation coming in the next couple of years in oil and gas?
The next couple of years, I think AI is playing a big role that's going to be in design and I know that that's where this is going, where we have guys on computers, you're putting on the virtual reality headsets and saying, I want a pipe go from here to here in AI. I can see that happening. It's going to come and it's going to come quick. And we want to be there for it. I think that's going to be one of the big innovations. And honestly, I think in material management is a huge innovation that the industry gets with, which is really going to help projects. It's going to fast track them. It's going to get them online quicker. Just with that in oil and gas, I think alone is big. So the AI is coming. I don't know what that looks like quite yet. Again, but it's going to play a role. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And even with our software, there's no doubt about it. Right? And we just need to know what's needed, and get out front there and figure it out. But yeah, like you said, the companies that have always done it that way, you're running out of time. And you're running out of time. You can't fight that forever. You cannot fight that change forever.
No, and it's going to be a thing where one day it's going to be too late, right? Where you've really fallen behind it and then it's too much of a hill to climb. So more tracking, more sensors, essentially.
Yeah. More tracking, more tracking, absolutely tracking. So data, and training, the training, like train people on it, right? And I think for us, it's easy, everything we do. But when you first show it to people, and me and my partner have come out of lunch learners, we say these people have a look on their face, and it's like we overwhelm them because it seems so easy to us, but so you have to kind of baby step them and just say, okay, we're just going to show you how to do this one thing. It's like getting a new car. All I want to know is how do I turn it on, put it in gear and go. It's got all these gauges and everything. As you get driving it for a while and you start, what's this gauge do? What's that? That's our approach, is that slowly you'll see the rest of the stuff,
Oh,
the options
interesting.
that it can.
Okay, yeah, that's a good approach where you kind of start small with the basics
Yeah,
and then yeah, go from
yeah.
there.
See what
Um,
else it does.
if you could fix one inefficiency that you see, whether, with your clients or in the industry as a whole, like what would it be?
It would be the apathy in clients and major, that they talk the talk. They have what's called at the end of projects a lessons learned. They say, okay, what did we learn from this project that we're going to change for the next one? And they have those, Phil, and they'll come up with whether it's materials or construction or whatever, and they all look like heroes doing it, and they don't do anything about it. They just remain apathetic. They don't. They go to they go to the trouble of doing that, but the next project they turn around
They
and do
just
it
forget
again.
it
It's
all. Yeah,
the
they start from
apathy.
scratch. Yeah.
It's Yeah, it's the apathy, and I don't know if it's a Canadian mindset or what it is, but it's apathy in this industry, and I'm hoping that it's not
It's
that way in
probably,
other
I don't think it
industries. Where,
has, I don't think it's Canadian. I'm hearing similar things from our friends in Texas, for instance.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I've worked with them, and they're a different outfit.
Well, it's probably company specific, but I'm definitely hearing, the same talking points coming back in the industry,
Exactly.
right, as a whole. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, you're not the only one seeing this. Let's put it that way.
We've done projects, like Canadian projects. Our engineering is world class, and it's
Mm.
known around the world. Like the Middle East was on us too, and they see anything that comes from Canada. First of all, they see it as quality, and then from Alberta, even more so in oil and gas, they see that our people. But down in the States, like we do things responsibly, if we don't flare and we do this things. And I've done jobs down there in Texas, and I ask a question. And I say, well, what are we doing about that flare line off of the treater? It's just going to the atmosphere. And he says to me, he goes, don't go all Canadian engineering on me here, like, because it adds cost. Eh? So I
I
say,
see.
oh, you mean responsible?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that
So you have to know your
a little
client,
more
right? You have to
loosey
know your,
goosey on
oh, yeah,
yeah,
get it out of the ground
on
and sell it as
greenhouse
fast as possible.
gases.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. There's a lot of air around, you know.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. What do your best people know in your company that others don't?
We're the best at responsible design. Material management, again, is such a big one. I keep talking about it, but it is on responsible. Our drawing packages, our materials packages, they're spot on. They're to the spec. You can order them and be confident you've got cost assurances on it. And we stand by it 100%. There's no overages, there's no extra ordering. It's just tight procedures that our stuff has a stamp on it, and we guarantee it just using good procedures. And that's where we're different big time. And everybody in our company is like that.
What keeps you up at night for the future?
For the future, well, what keeps me up is, I mean, sometimes I feel like we're beating our head against the wall. And what keeps me up is, what do we have to do to get this point
Mm,
across and people to buy in? We don't understand, like, what is left to be able to convince people. So what keeps me at night is the next thing. Even doing something like this, Phil, if it can go to some people and one person sees it, that it helps them.
hmm
I mean, it's an awareness thing right now. Is how do we let the world know this exists, or these types of procedures exist that will help them?
Yeah.
That will really help them. I had a medical test procedure done a year and a half ago, and since we're all about data and comparing data, there was two nurses collecting all this data, and so I got this test done, and then I didn't hear anything for like 4 weeks. So I phoned the doctor's office, and they said, oh, because of all the data they gathered, it goes to another group of doctors, and they assemble, and they have to put it in spreadsheets and make reports and all this. It was like listening to an advertisement for our software. It was in our procedures. It was kind of funny. It's kind of funny. She said it took 3 months to get the results of that one test. And I said, if we could see what they were doing, we could probably have a procedure that would eliminate that. And if that's one test in healthcare of the thousands of tests they must do, the amount of money and time that could save the healthcare system, but that becomes, who do we talk to? how do we get, they say, well, it's sensitive data. I say, well, I'll sign off on my data, but there's potential there huge. And with the universities have contacted us about the tool for their students to use and stuff. And again, it's like, we're a small company and it becomes, who do you talk to and how do you get through
Yep.
them? The healthcare, we know, could be a huge Canadian, like a huge innovation to help.
There's a little waste there. Yeah, I heard the
Yeah.
rumors.
Yeah, I've heard rumors too. Yeah, it's 60% of the budget, right?
Something like that. Did that give you the idea when you had that experience to kind of foray into the healthcare industry with your software?
Well, we always thought we can probably help healthcare, and we said, yeah, but that brought it front and
Yeah,
center.
that basically
and then we
gave
started
you kind of
looking at,
the smoking gun.
yeah.
Yeah.
So people that analyze data, right? They need tools to help them analyze data. And so we went on the Alberta government website and just keyed in data analyst jobs, government of Alberta, brought up 4 pages of different data analyzed jobs that we said, somebody in there should be able to use this tool or use a tool like ours, but they don't. They just hire people and they sit in the corner with their coffee and their highlighters and for 8 hours and get up and go home. Nobody cares. I said, my brain don't work that way. It's like, no, this is inefficient. I can't do this.
Yeah, if you go in the government and start to fix inefficiencies, that's a full-time job for sure.
Inefficiencies in the government.
Yeah.
They always say they want that. So we've got a friend out here who's an MLA out where I live that she's handy with us, and we say, okay, we need to talk to the immigration minister who likes what we're doing and stuff. So it's a battle, but it's getting there. We're addressing the holes, and like we have some initiatives that we believe are positive to help a bunch of people, right? A bunch of industries and a bunch of people. So as this stuff moves forward, I think it's got the hockey curve effect. You go along and it starts to go up like this, and I think we're kind of right here. And then I think it'll be so. This was a long time though.
AI is the same, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah. And so that's what makes it a bit scary. Like that's why some people are worried about it, because one day it just might become really, really smart, really fast. And then that gets out of control a little bit. But
well, I see that and I go, it's moving so quickly that we've got to be aware of it. We have to be aware of it. Like I don't want to be the buggy whip guy. Yeah, on the CAD
That's
side.
right.
I don't want to be the buggy whip guy. They made the best damn material management system out there, but they should have got into doing it with AI or something.
Yeah. I mean, if not you, your competition will do it. So
somebody will do
absolutely, like you need to get on that. I know we're coming up on time. This was great. Doug, I'll leave you on this, and I know the answer because you've kind of answered already, but the real blocker to innovation in the industries that you serve, is it culture, tech, or resources?
It's resources, and it's changing the mentality of how we do things. It's coming up that we're moving forward. We're moving from the horse to the car.
Yeah.
We're moving from the horse to the car, and you have to have those people agree to that. Did you know, ironically, that the creation of the invention of the car was supposed to be the savior of the climate, because the horses were creating so much
gas
in the cities.
Yeah.
The car was the savior of the planet, ironically, 100 and some years ago. But yeah, it's changing the mindset of how we do things, and once that happens, it's going to explode. And it's going to explode, hey, and we're not stopping until we let the world know and say, hey, whether it's us or somebody else, this has to happen. It's going to happen. You can't ride horses forever.
Nope, you're right. They get tired at one point.
They get tired. Yeah, they get tired. Yeah.
Thank you so much for jumping on. This was great.
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, Phil. I really appreciate it.